Hello, good evening. This is Diecast, and I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to that episode of Vintage Diecast Monday episodes. I'm back on time, shooting on a Monday. Anyway, got some interesting pieces for this week's episode. Got a couple of bits to look at. Not a massive hoard of cars by any means, but a couple of good pieces nonetheless. So I went back to one of my favourite little vintage diecast toy car shops, I suppose you could say. He's more of a flea market, indoor flea market, but he does do a lot of vintage cars, or a lot of vintage model cars. And I've been wanting to do a film in there for a long time. And funnily enough, that's the reason why I went there again, was to do some filming and to obviously see if he had any decent cars that I'd be interested in. But to be honest, he's got so many boxes in there at the minute, and tools and other knickknacks and bric-a-brac type stuff, and obviously cars, that it was a little bit difficult. There wasn't a lot of room, so I said I'd go back and film at a later date. But I did pick up two rather interesting pieces, so we'll get straight into it. So the first piece is this corgi lotus, which I don't know masses about this era of corgi. My era is more the whiz wheels, and husky toys is more my thing. But I seen this. Let's get some extra zoom on. So it was up for £5. I paid £5. It is a weighty piece. It is missing its windscreen, or it's got half of it left, and it is missing its steering wheel, but it has its tyres, which is always good. So at some point in the near future, this will be being restored, as it looks a pretty straightforward one to do. But something about this, I think what it was, it reminded me, even though it's not the same car, but it reminded me of a Porsche 550A Spider. Similar sort of thing to what James Dean drove and crashed and died in, unfortunately. This wasn't this type of car. This just reminds me of that car. And I don't know, we'll see. I might do a restoration on this, and I might even do it in that sort of colour, as like a tribute car maybe. I don't know. But it's cool. It's weighty. It's got some lens lights. So let's get a closer look. So there you go. As I said, it's seen better days. It is quite play worn, but I'm sure this will come up nice. And like I said, I've got to try and acquire some glass and try and get a steering wheel. But the steering wheel is pretty easy, but the glass is a different story. So that is going to be a future restoration anyway. Like I said, that is something that I'm hoping to do very soon. There's the underneath. So there you go. Corgi toys, made in Great Britain. Lotus mark. Can't see what that says. Let's try a bit further. Mark II, Le Mans. So it is a cool piece. And like I said, to find it with its tyres is unusual. That's usually the first bit that goes. But then again, saying that, probably quite hard to get these tyres off unless they literally rot off. Anyway, that's the first piece, and I didn't mind paying that. I thought it was a good price. Weighty piece. Actual fact, I've got some photographs of what it would look like with this original box and another variation as well, so just bear with me. So there's the other variation and the original one with its box. So anyway, like I said, cool piece. Future restoration very soon, hopefully. So zoom out a little bit. Now this next piece, again, has its price on it. When I first seen this, I did think it was a Matchbox. But it's actually from what I've researched, it is a budgie toy. So let's get some extra zoom. So there you go. It says on the side, if we get some extra zoom again, just in case, there you go. So it does say Royal Mail. Underneath it just says Royal Mail. I believe it says number 11. And obviously made in made in England. It seems to have what looks like, I believe it is metal wheels, pinched axles. And it's from about the late 50s, I'd say late 50s, early 60s. It's quite a basic toy. I'm not quite sure of the van it's modelled after, if I'm completely honest. but it is cool. And this I probably won't do nothing with, as I think the play worn adds a bit of charm to this particular piece. So very cool. And I don't have any budgie in my collection, any budgie toys in my collection, but I do urge you all to go and look them up if you don't know who they are. They did do some very interesting castings, and probably something that I wouldn't mind picking some more up of in the future. But like I said, it grabbed my eyes at first because I thought it was a vintage Matchbox, one of the earlier ones, but then I realised that it wasn't, and it was a budgie toy. So again, don't know masses about budgie. Matchbox and early Matchbox, or Matchbox in general, and Husky and Corgi whiz wheels are my sort of thing. But very cool. So that's this week's pieces. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. Well, this one is from 1958 or 1959, something like that. But anyway, like I said, not a massively long episode. 2 very cool pieces, 2 unusual pieces, at least for me. And stay tuned for more Vintage Diecast Monday episodes. I will be doing a restoration giveaway very soon. I might try and do one this weekend. So when I do my Friday Diecast Vintage Pick of the Week, I might announce what I'm doing for a giveaway. It may be one of my restorations like I usually do. But anyway, more on that at the end of the week. But with that, I'll see you all very soon. Thank you for watching.